everyone, and welcome to the Rebirth Summit 2025 Stories of Unyielding Courage. I'm Pauline Chilton, host of The Pauline Chilton Show, where I spotlight powerful voices from around the globe. I share real conversations with entrepreneurs, experts, and change makers to help listeners grow personally and professionally, while also amplifying voices of resilience as a co author of Breaking the Silence Voices of Survivors, Volume 3, a powerful collection of stories from trauma survivors. I'm honored to be selected as an interviewer for this international summit featuring 100 plus inspiring stories of transformation and rebirth. Pam, please tell me how to say your name properly so that I can give you a proper introduction.
Pam Rajapoxa.
Thank you so much. Pam Rajapoxa is a passionate educator and librarian who has spent years inspiring others through the power of mindset and transformation. With a background in teaching and a deep curiosity about how thought patterns shape success, she brings both warmth and wisdom to her work. For several years, Pam hosted a cultural program on a live 90.5 FM where her voice became a source of connection, learning, and empowerment for the community. Today, she has transitioned into a new chapter dedicated to guiding individuals on their healing journeys and helping them unlock their inner strength. Through her insights and experiences, Pam empowers others to step into a life of clarity, growth, and purpose. Thank you and welcome, Pam. Let's start at
Thank
the
you.
beginning. Pam, what was life like before your transformation? Describe the situation emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Help us feel where you are.
Thank you for this opportunity to be here, first of all. Thank you, Lima, and everybody else that worked behind the scenes. My life before this transformation was completely full. I was always on the on switch. Impressive, really impressive on paper. I was fully high functioning individual. I had my parents living in a house that I built very happily. I was looking after my daughter. I had two pups that I rescued from the pound, and I was on the go, and I had very little time to worry about myself or even to think about myself. That was my life. I mean, as we all do, when things happen, I held myself. I thought I was managing. The truth was I was actually on autopilot. And I often used to say that my home was like a hotel. I used to come home and sleep and following day repeat the pattern all over again. Mentally and emotionally, I was quite stretched, thin. The demands never stopped. So the parents, their needs, their medical needs, appointments, and my daughter, her studies, her work, the pups needed help. And me physically was suffering as well at this point in time. I had a knee that really badly needed a complete replacement. Um, I was going through managing a renovation at work. Uh, all of these things, I had no time to stop. I had no off button. I just kept going. And that was the rule. And spiritually, too, I believe that I had it all figured out. I was doing what I thought I should be doing, and I ticked all the boxes. But I think what I did was in that before the transformation, I avoided the stillness. I avoided this stopping. There was a point I realized in hindsight that I was avoiding the truth. The truth was that underneath all of that, if I had stopped, I would expose my fragility inside within me. That's what I was before my transformation.
Wow, that's such an amazing statement that you just said. Wow. So tell us about what was your breaking point? What was that major moment that happened or a situation that forced you to change?
My breaking point came in 2019. Couple of years prior to that, I've had to take the heartbreaking decision to move my father into a nursing home after his leg was amputated. Culturally, the expectation was that we look after our parents until their last moment. So moving him to a nursing home took a lot of effort from me mentally and a lot of guilt that I had to take that decision. Then 2019, in the month of March, my father passed away. I was expecting that. I was at peace with it. I made peace with it. A couple of months later, my mother came to me and said, while I was getting ready for work, I have cancer. And she had been suffering from breast cancer for 4 years. She hadn't told anyone. We didn't know. My guilt doubled because why didn't I recognize any signs? There were no signs. And why didn't I know anything about my mother? I couldn't do anything for her. It was so late. 2 months later, I lost her. So my world kind of collapsed into this little place where I didn't know how to wake up. Then a month later, one of my pups passed away. That pup was my soul dog. We all have some pet that actually speaks to our heart. Missy was my soul dog. No warning, nothing. She passed away. And that broke me. Couple of months later, the other one passed away. So within 10 months, I had four of in the household gone. That was January 2020. Mid-January, Sydney, or the world shut down, COVID. So I had no connection to the world. The work was online. I had no support system. I have no family here. My mother and the father, everyone was gone, just me and my daughter. That, I think, was my breaking point where I just I still had to go on. I still had to show up. I still had to do what I had to do. But this lockdown and everything else just stripped away every last thread of normalcy for me. So, but all I had was silence. I had silence. Grief was layer upon layer, but I had silence. I had, I kept showing up. I worked. I did things at home. I told myself I was managing, but I had silence. I had silence. That was my turning point.
What you were saying about losing the people that were close to you and the animals that were close to you, like that's heavy. And as someone who I took care of my family when they were sick and also having lost, what was interesting was that there was a moment where I had surgery and I was, because of that surgery, I had to sleep sitting up. And I'd never done that before, and it was so uncomfortable. And I had two cats at that time. One cat was on one side, and the other cat was on the other side of me, right next to me, just on either side of my hip, letting me know that they were there to support me through that really tough time. And then one of those cats passed, and it was also during COVID, and it was heartbreaking. My husband was working out of town and it was his cat in the beginning. So I ended up calling him saying, "Hey, I really think your cat is getting ready to go and I need to get him to the vet." And if you want to come and say goodbye, you should probably get on the road. And sure enough, that is what happened. And they would only let one of us inside. And so he was the one that went inside. But we both, afterwards, we both just bawled together. It's, those kinds of things, they can be crushing moments. But what what I'd like to know is, what did that transformation feel like for you? The process, the fear, the breakthrough, the healing, decisions that you had to make, and the steps you made moving forward.
Well, as I mentioned, the silence was there, everything was quiet. But in that silence, the grief, the fear, the memories, everything was just quiet. And that quietness gave me enough time to breathe. And I found me. That was me. I met me. I wasn't the carer. I wasn't the mother. I wasn't the worker. I wasn't the pet's guardian. I was me. So I began to rise. And it was the process was very unraveling. Everything that I thought was my roles, my relationship, even the pain in my knee suddenly came into question. Was I the grief that I carried in my heart? Was I my parents' child? Now that they're gone, who am I now? Was I my pet's guardian? Because they needed medical care as well. Um, they're gone now. So who am I now? Just the reliable one? And without those identities, we all do that. We all have these identities that we put on ourselves. I was stripped bare. And I had to find who I was beneath all of that. And there came a moment when I had to confront that question, not intellectually, but soul deep. So I like an onion, you peel back layer by layer by layer, and you sit with what was left. And I realized I wasn't my name, I wasn't my job, my body, or the keys to my house. I wasn't anything that I could point to. The truth was quite profound, actually. The transformation didn't arrive with any answers. It arrived in that stillness that I found, breath by breath, tear by tear, silence. And that was my sanctuary. And in that sanctuary, in that silence, I finally allowed myself to feel the grief that I've been carrying for so long. It was terrifying. It was raw. It was disorienting. But I also realized I couldn't run. I had to face it. I stayed. I listened. And slowly, very slowly, I came to understand that transformation doesn't have to be about becoming somebody else new or building a shiny an identity, because that would be then your ego talking. The real change for me was about witnessing myself with compassion, tenderness, and the honesty, and without needing to fix anything or to perform for anybody. And in that presence, without any judgment, I began to rise, not into a version that a new version of me, but into the truth that who I was all along. Who was I? And then I found my me. That was my transformation, and that was really comforting.
Oh my goodness, that just gave me chills. Who was there for you? Were there people in your life that supported you?
So at this point in time, I had no family here. The world was shut. But would you believe the thing that helped me transform was a rocking chair. That was it. I sat. It's so amazing the transformation that I actually went through with the help of this rocking chair. I had no guru. I had nothing. No one. Um, so while I was processing all this grief, the pain, the losses that I had to go through, um, I sat in this rocking chair in the silence. And when you think about silence, the first thing that comes to my mind, your mind is emptiness, right? It's empty, it's quiet, there's nothing there. But really, the silence is so loud. It is alive and it is filled with so much wisdom. And I asked questions. I had hard questions in that silence, exposed this hidden grief. But this silence also held space for me. Held space for my grief. The chair, my rocking chair, I rocked forward, rocked back, rocked forward, rocked back. I was rocking forward to my future, rocking back to my past, rocking forward to my anxieties, rocking back to my memories, rocking forward to my fears, and rocking back to my memories, the hurt, the pain. But there came a point, a very subtle point. The rocking chair stopped. It's a moment of balance, equilibrium. And that was the now. And I realized I had to live now. This is all we have.
Wow. And so now where are you at on your journey?
Today, I am I'm not reactive, I'm responsive, but I take the decisions with intention, purpose, and there's so much space for silence, stillness. And this is where I do teach others as well. And I work with little minds every day, and I love it, and I don't take it lightly at all. Um, Silence. I I profess silence anytime, anywhere, because silence is the way of rising. And in that time, in that silence, in that stillness, I created this RISE program, RISA. And that was born in a rocking chair. I did not have a guru, as I said, I did not have tablets, I did not have anything else, but a rocking chair that gave me that moment of clarity. So in the framework that I had created, I recognize what it is. You recognize what is it that you are feeling. Name it. Give it a name. Is it an emotion based on some? Because every emotion that we feel is some form of fear. Some form of fear for future, and that fear for future is informed by our trauma and the memories of the hurt in the past. So we need to recognize that. We need to name it. And then you inhale, take a breath, be silent, because that gives you the time to strategize. Once you strategize, you execute it with intention, with purpose. So this is where I am. I honor my grief, can't avoid it because nobody can avoid it. It keeps coming over and over again. But it doesn't have to shape you. It does not have to define you. It does not have to have the last say.
And finally, I know you've already mentioned what you're doing with your work. What message do you have for someone still stuck or in pain? If someone's listening who's where you used to be, what would you tell them?
You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to fix anything today. Sometimes the bravest thing to do is just to stop, take a moment, and truly feel where you are. Because in that silence, it's unbearable at first because it's when you're not used to the silence, the noise, you don't want to stay there. But within that lives a quiet, unwavering power, a space where healing begins. And the healing, as many of our speakers had mentioned, is not linear. And it doesn't come all at once either. But slowly, gently, breath by breath, pain may come. Pain may have brought you low, but doesn't have to give it the last word. There is strength in you, there's hope in you, and when you're ready to rise, you will. Not as who you were, but as someone more grounded, more whole, more you. And if you're hurting, don't rush, don't panic. Sit, breathe, listen. Your turning point might be just in that moment. Every moment is a moment to be reborn. You're not broken, you're not alone. You are just becoming. Listen to the silence because it's speaking to you.
Oh, and with that, that still just gives me chills. I want to thank you, Pam. Thank you, Pam Rajapoxa, for sharing your heart and your powerful story. Your journey is a beacon of hope. This has been another incredible conversation with the Rebirth on the Rebirth Summit 2025, Stories of Unyielding Courage. I'm Pauline Chilton, and it's been an honor to host this interview as part of this global movement for healing and transformation. Stay tuned for more interviews from courageous speakers all around the world. Until next time, this is Rebirth TV signing off.